Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy Swedlow, and this is the Swedlow Show on TelevisionAtion. And I'm really excited to introduce someone whose videos you might have seen or might not have seen. And his name is Wavy, and he actually is in the Bay Area. So I'm excited to have you in the neighborhood, as it were. He has been making incredibly uh, fascinating red flag baby videos, and they're coming out like every day. I feel like there's new ones every day, and I know they find them funny. So I thought that we would invite him in here as a creator and someone who clearly has control over his Gen AI tools to talk to us. So welcome to the show, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I'm super excited to talk about this topic. And I mean, so from what I understand, right, you are a Bay Area videographer.
Yes.
But I mean, like when did it get into your head, or well, when did it get into your head to start playing with AI? And then we're going to talk about what you've actually created, and we'll show some clips.
So what really got me into AI, probably I'll say about 2, 3 years ago, I was looking into getting monetized on YouTube. So I started seeing all these new tools pop out and things like that. So my first idea was to maybe I thought to give people advice on saving money. That was my first idea. Let me make some videos of telling people how to make money, but it was a little boring. That wasn't my style. So I converted into horror. So I would do like horror videos. And I have a whole page that's monetized on TikTok as well with a lot of my horror films and shorts and things like that. And that's more my speed. I like scary stuff and things like that. So telling stories and just making like crazy looking clips. And I actually have a character that actually went viral. His name's Mr. Stitch. And that kind of took off and it led to more things. But as more tools came out, you realize how much creative power you have that you normally couldn't have, especially if you don't have the capital. Um, I can do Hollywood level things at this point, just knowing how to prompt. And it's just crazy how things have changed so quickly.
You don't just know how to prompt, you know how to use a whole set of tools. Because like I said just moments ago, I was on a Gen AI jam a few weekends ago, and then we had teams, trying to make like a minute or 2 minute video. And, unless you had somebody on that team who really knew these tools, it's clunky when you first get into them. They're not that easy to use unless you really understand how to stitch. Speaking of the word stitch, to stitch these 6-second pieces together and to
Mhm.
create consistent characters, um, without just having it guess and reiterate. So I feel like you have really mastered your tool set. And I mean, I noticed in one of your videos, you talk about a whole bunch of different things you use. I know we were playing with Luma and Vio and Haluo. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think that's how you
Mhm.
pronounce it. And some other ones. You had some other tools, I think,
Oh yeah.
Flux. But, I actually want to study your videos or like, you should do a class or something, seriously,
I
to help.
definitely was thinking about doing something like that.
Okay, great, because I will sign up. So I think it's amazing what you've been able to create. So tell me, uh, although before I ask that next question about
Mhm.
horror for a second, I
Yes.
actually was it last year or the year before? I did go to an AI film festival at the Alamo Draft House here in San Francisco, and
Mhm.
it was led by Edward Sachi, who I believe is involved with Runway and other things. And
Mhm.
they did a horror film festival, AI. And it was so frightening you could barely watch it because AI is
Mhm.
so flexible, so powerful.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so let's talk about what you've created now, which is not horror. It's all of these babies.
Yes.
I noticed that you have right now not a huge amount of subscribers. You've got like at least on YouTube, it's like 8,000 something. But I also
Yes.
saw you post some graphic on, was it Facebook or something, that you had generated 45 million views already from that.
Yes. And today
Um,
it's at 51 million now.
wow. So tell us a little bit about these red flag baby videos. And
Mhm.
while you're talking, I'll show a few clips.
Okay. So really what got me into the babies was I would say I would go back to about May 8th to be exact. I had come across when VO kind of was first coming out, I seen people doing these interviews on the street. and they were just asking people, do you feel like you're AI and this and that? And I'm like, how could I flip this? So they had put the prompt in the caption. So I copied that prompt and used it as a template. But I said, well, how can I make this a little different and not just the regular humans and people talking? So my idea was to create different characters. So I have like an alien talking about a red flag, like a guy saying, "Oh, what's a red flag about a woman that you're dating?" And then I did the opposite. So they would all be characters, look like mascots and things like that, which caught people's attention, but also the relatability of what people go through, especially like in the Bay Area, dating and things like that. These are things people can relate to. So they're getting this relatability, and also like, wait, what am I looking at right now? Why does he have a Gucci hat on? Why does he have Burberry jackets on and stuff like that? So then moving forward, that was the first time I went viral on that. And then moving forward to now, when I start seeing the babies come out, because VO3 lifted the age restriction on voice, because before, if you were 17 and under or a kid, the voice wouldn't produce any sound. So they
Oh,
changed this, and I start seeing all these baby videos coming out. He was like, well, how is it like being in the world today as a newborn and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can take that idea I did at first with the red flags with the dating and flip it around with babies. And but also putting them in designer clothes. Who would think to see a baby in designer clothes, head to toe, a diamond pacifier or bottle? Like who
oh,
would think of
I
that?
think they
Like, what
exist.
is he doing?
I think they exist in reality.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, that was really my idea to catch them, get the attention with the clothing, but also put some real stuff in there, like real life situations. And when you really think about it, it's like, well, some of this stuff is like real talk for some parents. They may need to take some notes, and maybe they need to touch up on some things. Don't pass your baby to everybody at the party. They might get sick, or, and things like this is really some life lessons you put in there if you really watch and listen.
So you do use a consistent voice throughout all of these babies, don't you? Is it a consistent
Yeah, usually
synthesized voice?
so depending on like if I want to go like cultural or like say for instance I did like the country style babies.
Yes,
You can
that's true.
sometimes
They have an accent.
yeah, you can alter the accent. It's you got to play around with it sometimes because AI is not always consistent. So I said, prompting is very important.
Okay, so the main question I would have is all of this is created by AI. The voice is created by AI, but are the jokes, are the lines, is this prompted through ChatGPT, or are you willing to reveal that? How, because they are so insightful and funny.
So when I first started, I just was thinking about just things I've gone through just being a kid in my culture because everybody in their culture has something that they dealt with that only they can relate to versus over here. So I started with that, things I was familiar with. And I would come up with like, okay, what's a funny way I can say this? Now I may give ChatGPT an idea maybe of where I want to go with it, but it's really clueless on like real culture things and stuff like that. You have to really guide ChatGPT in the direction that you want to go. So even constructing certain lines or putting things certain places, it takes a lot of human thinking. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much work you actually have to put in to get it to do what you want it to do. It's smart, but it's not that smart. It still needs someone to guide it in the right direction. So it takes a lot of time to really come up with the right lines because if you let it do what does, it's just general corny lines, and I don't think it has a real hit when it don't come from the soul.
Well, that's what when I interviewed Tomasha Pazinski from Adobe just recently, he was talking about how it still requires the person to make up the ideas about the lighting. It still requires like the decisions about the camera angles. There's still the creativity going on when you create these AI videos. As good as they are, it still requires, yes, a human touch. So, and you have to,
Definitely.
you become an expert editor, an expert
Mhm.
director. So I mean, they're so the baby videos are so culturally specific. I think you did a Latin one, you did
Yes.
some Asian babies, you did
hmm
country, you did African American. I don't know if you did any other
I have an
groups.
Indian one as well.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right.
And then I did one. So then I stepped into a different realm of like, okay, babies in split households. How would babies be if they had like they stay only with their mom and then their dad and they're switching houses? Like you got to think that, that's damaging to kids, but what would they be thinking? Like what would they be like? Ah, I got a problem with this, that, and the other, but they can't really talk. But I feel like these are thoughts that they can internalize as they grow up.
It's funny because my daughter, who is now 18, she once told me when I was pushing her around in a what do they call it, pram or a baby carriage, she could remember thinking that she wanted me to close the blanket on top of her. She wanted to be in silence. But see, we wanted as parents, we wanted her to be exposed. We
Mhm.
we that
Yeah,
was our decision. She actually remembers thinking something and that she wished we would, do that anyway. So maybe they are
yeah.
thinking a lot. It's
You never
interesting.
know.
You never know. So there are other people interviewing these babies of all kinds, but that's all AI generated, right? Because sometimes they sound like it's your voice coming
Yeah,
out.
so you basically have to prompt everything. So it's like even the ethnicity of the interviewer. Are they actually in the frame or is it just that microphone coming in on the side? You have to prompt it to make sure the mic stays on the baby while they're talking. Because my first one, I slipped up on that and then they would remove the microphone. But it's really like you got to be that tedious and put those details or it will not follow. That's why I say it takes a lot of human effort still to think and come up with the right wording.
So, like I said, these things seem to be coming up pretty quickly, but how long does it take you to iterate one piece that you're happy with, would you say?
Um, I would say the longest right so far, just because I wasn't getting a lot of generations that I liked, I would say probably like 3, 4 hours. But that was just because some of my generations were coming out like they just either the interviewer was saying the line of the baby or the baby was saying the line of the interviewer. It was confusing sometimes. So just dealing with that over and over and making sure I have each one placed. Like sometimes I'll have one with like a life advice and I'll leave that for the end versus putting it in the front. Or I'll take one I feel like people will like this enough that it'll hook them in. So I'll put that one first. And it's really thinking about placement and all that kind of stuff.
So, do you feel you're more of um, like, what would you call yourself? A director, a creator, an editor, a writer? Like, how would you retitle yourself? Because you're handling
Um,
everything.
I would just say I just like to create. I'm an artist. I've just had my hands in so many different things, and I think that's what's kind of helped me with editing and things like that. Since I've done music videos, weddings, club events, all kinds of stuff. So I've been able to dibble and dabble in a little bit of everything and be around so many different cultures that I probably would never have done had I not picked up a camera.
So at what point, I mean, you've been doing this for about what, a little over a year, right?
Mhm.
So at what point or what video happened that you put out there? Do you think it kicked off sort of a cultural phenomenon? I mean, I don't know if
I would
everybody's seeing this in their feed, but I mean, yeah, when do you think this hit?
So that first one I believe that really hit was that one I did back in May because I think I was around like maybe 3,000 something followers. And when I
Yeah.
put out that interview video, the red flags, the dating red flags for the guys, it changed the whole algorithm of Instagram. After that, you start seeing aliens popping up with interviews and things like that. And it was just like instant. The views would just come right off the rip because it was something they never seen before. But I just noticed I've seen red flag videos of people doing this in the streets and things like that. So I'm like, well, maybe I can switch it up a little bit and have these characters. And people already think there's aliens out here anyway. So I'm like, this might even, cause some buzz too.
There are other people doing red flag videos now, like more and more, like
Oh
people
yeah.
copying each other.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
okay, it's like a thing.
I've had to start putting watermarks like floating through my videos because people were taking credit for my videos, putting their names on it, and stuff like that. So I'm like, one guy, he had like 5 million views on TikTok from one of my videos. I'm like, I hope he ain't making all this money
What?
off it. Yeah.
Oh, how are you monetizing? Just YouTube and Instagram, or
YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, but right now the most uh revenue I'm getting right now is YouTube.
and you want to say, or is Social Blade accurate, would you say?
So I would say right now I'm on average making about $236 a day. So I'm on pace to make a good amount. As I add more content, I know it's going to increase even more. So I've been trying to
Are
stay
you
on the
being
content.
are you being contacted by studios or other people who might want to hire you or distribute your stuff, or where does that sit right now?
I've actually so lately it's been a lot of like I've been doing a lot of marketing for different brands and things like that. I actually was contacted for someone that might possibly want to turn this into like series or something on film or movie of that nature. So it's a lot of things that have been coming out of this. Especially like I had Snoop Dogg repost me twice. So many celebrities that, just been posting my stuff, commenting and things like that. So it's been all over. So it's been a
Could
lot like a
you
surreal feeling.
could the interviewer be Snoop Dogg and interviewing babies? Couldn't you do that for him?
I could probably use his likeness, but they have so many blocks on certain things when using celebrity names. Like if you put it in a prompt, you'd have to really specify, okay, like a look-alike or someone that
Mm.
has his likeness, because it's so much you can do with AI. You can make someone do whatever you want. So it has to be some kind of, you know, restrictions.
Do you like you're continually making this, but what's coming up next for you other than being hired by a brand or something like that? Do you see a longer story? I mean, these are 6-second compilations, right? That's as long as they, but could you build I mean, you know the tools so well. Couldn't you create a
Mhm.
longer compilation to create a whole piece like your horror films? Can you tell
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I could. It's just it does still cost, like VO3, for instance, that's $250 a month. And just, doing those credits all the time. Sometimes like I'm sitting in my room topping up my credits, spending like $50 just to make sure I can get the right clips in and make it look good. So it still is a lot of investment that goes into it. And with longer pieces, it's just more generations. So really what I've been doing now is like taking my short pieces, putting them together, then I'll put them on YouTube. But I do plan on maybe getting these into film, some short films, because I think that's the future for film in general. It's AI. I mean, they already had CGI and everything, so this is the next step because it's letting the creator like myself, who maybe doesn't have access to all this stuff on all these fancy cameras and things like that, but to get their story and their ideas out. That's the main part.
the thing I was saying earlier, like I've made the first episode of my musical, TV the musical, as an audio file because we don't have access to all that fancy equipment. It gives it, however, AI will enable, us to create the visuals with, well, there's still a cost. So I'm looking forward to experimenting with that. Actually, it seems like how much do you think it costs you a year to do this? Is it profitable still, even though all of these things cost you so much money? Can you still make enough money through YouTube or TikTok to make a profit?
I would say now it is, and a lot of this stuff honestly has been happening within the last 3 weeks. But I've gotten so many inquiries, and I've sent out a few proposals. So a lot of people have reached out. I've gotten reached out by the Seattle Seahawks for some work. Um,
Oh, who was that? Say that again.
Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to be doing some work for them.
Babies on the Jumbotron?
Yeah. One of my plans is really, hopefully I can get this into like a Super Bowl commercial, to be honest, because I feel like that would be a good, just the way Super Bowl commercials are set up to have some talking babies on there. I think that would be,
I
pretty
think it would be
crazy.
hilarious. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
think the crowd would just go wild. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah.
Uh, is that likely to happen, you think? What percentage you think?
With everything that I've seen happening thus far, I have optimism a lot because right now, like I said, I'm getting Super Bowl numbers. Like, people pay millions of dollars to get placements on these commercials, and I'm getting it, no ads, all organic. So I think it's really possible.
What else in AI out there do you like to watch to sort of inspire you?
Um, Usually what I'll do is I'll just when I first started, I would just get on and look up AI films and just see what are people creating. And like I'll look up a horror film, maybe a comedy, sci-fi, and just see, what are people creating out here. And then I'll take maybe some like a look that I see, like a coloring I look, and I'll get inspired. Okay, well, what would go good with this black and white look or this surreal look, and kind of just get on ChatGPT, start getting my ideas together. And once you get into that mode, it's just like, okay, you just let loose, get creative. And once you just relax and let it come out, it's just, I just start creating. I've done so much stuff in my life, like weddings and stuff. So I'm always have some kind of inspiration going on in my mind about something, either it's a song or something I smell. Like I made one for my mom, a inspired horror video called Miss G. So my mom cooks And this film was basically like she has something in her food that keeps people addicted to the point where they eat too much and they're overly stuffed, but they never leave. So just stuff like that.
It sounds like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, yeah. I'll
Have
show
you
you that
ever?
link when I later.
Okay, great. Do you feel like you've ever made something that went too far that you have published?
I would say in that regard, I would say probably like some of the gore that I put in some of my videos, as far as like my horror films, with the things as far as like maybe like stereotypical things like that. I feel like even like a comedian, when they tell stuff about their life, like Kevin Hart had a show where he was making a joke about how he got caught cheating. It's like it's a painful process, but at the same time, you got to be able to laugh at it and know that it exists. It's true. You know, we got to be able to laugh at some of these things. So none of what I do has any malice intent or anything like that. It's all fun. You know what I'm saying? I actually for the Chinese video, I reached out to one of my friends that I did a wedding with before, and he gave me a lot of like, hey, you know, we used to go through this and you know, make sure you ask him about that. And then I just found a way to kind of get it out there in a comedic way.
Sounds good. Have you ever shown any toddlers these films, like who can understand that this baby is talking? Have you experimented like that?
Not yet. I showed my daughter, but
Not
she's
yet.
14, so
Oh, okay. I was kind of like, what happens if babies watch AI babies talk? Like, will that like speed up their process? I don't know. Really appreciate your time. I have so many things
yeah,
to share with you offline.
yeah.
So thank you so much for being part of this. And I really am excited to see what happens to you next.
Thank
And
you.
I'm thrilled that you've taken the time and the discipline to really get a hold of these tools because we need more people out there like you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
All right, everybody, please go check out Will Wavy Productions on YouTube. I think you're also on Instagram. You mentioned
Yes.
TikTok and Facebook. You're everywhere. I don't have time. You have time in the day to do anything other than this.
You know,
Oh,
when you really love doing something, it's like it don't seem like work.
I meant to ask also, have you been contacted by any connected TV, smart TV companies yet? Apps and things like
No,
that?
not yet. You know, actually, so I have an interview actually coming up next week with Katie Couric. So we're supposed to
Maybe
get on
Court.
yes. They reached out after seeing the baby videos as well. So we're supposed to get on an interview next week. So I feel that's going to be a, you know, good opportunity to get some of this information out.
Okay, sounds good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Don't click off yet. I want to talk briefly.
Yeah,
And thank you. I'm Tracy Swedlow. Like I said, Will Wavy Productions. The Big Wave is his brand name. All right. Thanks everybody. Well, I will provide some links to his videos. Take care.